And off we go. All right, welcome everyone to today's webinar on ideation and outcome-based selling. This is one of our intentional success series. This is, I know I probably say this every time, but this is one of my favorite webinars, so I hope you enjoy it. I've got, got to get through all the stuff first, of course. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Tom Stimson. I've been consulting at the AV industry for quite a while now. Visit my website. Hopefully you've already part of all of that. Find me on Facebook. Hey, let's hang out. But I really want to thank our sponsors. Our Jumpstart Workshop, and I'll talk a little bit about Jumpstart Workshop later in the webinar, but our sponsors make this sort of stuff possible. Otherwise, it's just not really worth the time and expense to do it. So AV Franklin, a fantastic distributor. You know them for the AV Stummful screens. HireTrack, Flex, Lasso, great software as a service companies. Square AV in Dallas, a fantastic B2B supplier that you guys should check out. And then Nationwide Video, who you all know, and I'm sure you do business with, but we want to thank these folks and please continue to patronize them. Now, let's talk about what we're going to learn today. I got one simple goal for you today: how to identify and process high value opportunities. Okay, that's what we're working on here. That's the only topic, so bear with me. I have one outcome today. How do we make better use of the opportunities that are coming to us and get more value out of them? So we're going to go through an exercise, and this is how we process a type of proposal. The process I'm going to show you works for any kind of proposal, by the way, but I'm going to take you to the kind of proposal opportunity that many of us ignore, we shrug our shoulders at, and walk away from. So here's the situation. You're the AV salesperson, you just took a phone call or you just got an email through your website, because that's probably what's going to happen here. They're going to say, click on that link where they can request a proposal or request a meeting, and it's a bookstore that wants to do a Harry Potter book release. All right, so that may be dated here a little bit unless there's a new Harry Potter book coming out that I don't know about. And here's what you get from that customer. They send you a nice little rift, or you have a conversation that says, hey, we're an independent bookstore, we're downtown, we got these great loyal base of customers, but we want to make a big deal out of the Harry Potter book release next month. And so we thought we'd hire some people to dress as characters and, the regular decorating stuff that we would normally do, but we want to do something bigger, okay? And I'm thinking lights and sound and video. That's all they know to ask for. We want to immerse our guests in this world. And they realize that they can never sell enough books in one night to pay for such an event, but we'd really like to invite the press and other influencers. We want to get some attention if we do this right. We want to increase our customer base long term. So they're looking for a long-term solution here. Now, we don't have a lot of space, so now they're telling you things that you probably need to know. It's a single-story shop. They got bookshelves. We got a little area that we use for book signings, but we don't have a lot of room to work with. Okay. Let me know if you can help us create a memorable event. Now, what's that going to happen in your office if this comes in? What are you guys going to say? What's going to happen? And some of you are going to be excited about it, and that's fantastic. Okay. But some of you are going to say, we're a rental company, you need a producer. And you're going to kick that opportunity right out saying, hey, that's not what we do. You go find somebody to help you produce this event, and I'll rent you some gear. Or you'll start asking questions that they can't answer, like, what do you know how many lights you need? How big of a projector do you want? Is there room to put a screen in? You'll ask what's their budget? They don't know what their budget is. Why do we ask that question, right? And some people will just jump right in and say, great, here's a proposal. I'm just going to go ahead and just give you a proposal. What do you say? Okay, none of these things are ideally what we want to accomplish. So let me pause for a moment here. I'm getting some comments that the audio is boomy. I'm going to try and switch microphone systems. So, and that's not going to go as quickly or as easily as I thought it would. So let me switch to a room mic here, and you tell me, guys, if this is better. Stand by. You know.
All right, folks, we should be back online. And tell me if this sounds any better to you. Not ideal, but better. Now, I agree it's not ideal either because I'm using a room mic. All right, as long as we're better and maybe a little bit less boomy, let's move on. So a lot of people might come back with some quick answers here and throw out a proposal or go to the boss and say, hey, do we want to mess with this? Or they may go to the over-delivery side and immediately start doing scenic designs and renderings because they have to get a proposal out and they need the renderings in order to get a budget. So all of these things are not ideal. What do we need to do? Well, let's look at what we know so far. So what we know so far is that what we have here is a confidence buyer. So a confidence buyer, there's three primary types of buyers: confidence, value, and control. And this is a confidence buyer, and they're identifying you as the expert. So they want you to tell them what to do. So we know that much. They've already identified that this is a strategic investment. Okay, so that they know that they don't have the money on the surface to do this. They know they're buying something for the future. Okay. They see the challenges in doing this. They're really looking for your creativity input, and they're already underestimate what you can accomplish. So they think all they need is some lights and video. They don't know that you can do something more than that for them. So this looks like a transaction, but what we have is something that's much, much better. So what do we want to do instead? We want to have a thoughtful response. We can't dismiss opportunities like this because these are fantastic opportunities. So a thoughtful response says, is there a potential value to the customer that goes beyond the transaction? Is this more than a light rental? That's what we have to ask. So have we asked the right questions yet? And chances are we haven't, but if we think we have, then we need to ask the question, can we deliver more value than what the sum of the parts are? In other words, can we create an outcome for them that's worth more than the rental transaction, for instance? And if you think the answer to that is no, go back and look at it again. Because everything you do, unless you are a dry hire rental business, everything you do is worth more than the sum of the parts. If you can demonstrate that to this customer, you might have a pretty nice looking gig here. So let's do a little discovery. Ask them, can you tell me more about how you will promote the event? Don't ask them, how many people do you expect? Because they don't know. Okay. Ask them about how many books they expect to sell. Okay, how would they normally be selling? How many books get sold in the city, and can they sell some more of those books? Okay. And ask them about things like pre-sale in this case. How do you get books sold in advance? Learn a little bit about their business. That's part of your job. It's not their job to tell you how all of this works. It's your job to ask the right questions. And so the customer is going to respond to some simple questions and saying, yeah, we have Facebook followers, we have a mailing list, but customers are asking us what we will do. What's important here is they didn't just answer your question, they volunteered more. Another valuable piece of information is that their customers are asking for something. They talk about, we're hoping to get some PR from the weekly newspaper, and you should be thinking, well, why not from the daily newspaper? Why not from the news agencies? And they talk about their bookstore. People like independent bookstores, but not everybody knows about us, and we don't get youth. This is an opportunity to get the youth segment in. All of these are great clues for us on how we can help respond to this opportunity. And then they give you a metric. Thank goodness. Typically, they say, we'll sell 100 books in pre-release. That means we're going to sell 500 overall. So your follow-up question would be what? What if you sold 500 books in pre-release? Now they're thinking. Now they're starting to understand the value of what you're going to possibly do for them. So what do we know now? We've asked a couple questions. They've thought about this. They have customers that are weighing options on where they're going to buy the books. They have several measurable ROIs. You know what they are yet? We'll get to that in a minute. And they're looking for a solution that has long-term results that will pay off in the long run, that will start something. So these are all fantastic things to consider. That takes us to the next step. We have enough information now to start formulating some ideas. So we're going to process this information and see if we have a valuable response to give them back. Now, the ideation process works best with a group of people. Okay, you need a team approach whenever possible. Now, the team might be 3 people, or it might be you talking to yourself, but get some people in there and get them from all aspects of the company. Don't just say, oh, this is marketing and creative, okay? Because we need ideas from people who work in the field. We need ideas people who think about the technical issues and constraints. So we want to get a lot of people involved, and we want to get you out of your comfort zone. So in this process, we're going to wear 3 hats. We're going to wear a sales hat, we're going to wear a technical hat, and we're going to wear a delivery or field hat and get ideas. Now, you can do this, you can break up into 3 teams, or the team can process with from these different points of view. So the sales ideation process has 2 primary questions. One is, identify 3 areas where the client will be negatively impacted if they do nothing. In other words, if they do nothing at all, what's the downside of doing nothing? And in this case, that should be fairly easy to figure out. And then we want to identify 3 ways to measure success if we execute this project well. So our negative impact, well, they won't sell as many books, they won't grow their followers, other people will get their followers, and they are going to miss out on an opportunity to build in hype for this thing that would have legs later on. Now, if they're successful, how would you measure it? Well, you can measure it by how many books we sell. You can measure it by how much PR they actually get. You know, how many Facebook likes do they get? Do they end up with a larger mailing list? That's valuable, okay? If they can permanently increase traffic to the store. Now, we may not know that for months down the road, but that's a measurable ROI. And if the customer thinks the things that you're going to propose will help them do that, then it is an ROI to them. Okay? So we take our sales ideation, now we say, well, what's our best idea, knowing these things that we would pitch? What's something we could do to help achieve this ROI from a sales point of view? And now remember, we want you outside your comfort box, so I don't want you to constrain yourself for all the technical reasons why sales ideas are always wrong. We know why sales ideas are always wrong. This is not the time to point them out. Let's get the idea. So in this exercise, the sales group has come up with the idea of building up pre-sales. We want to create a website. We want them to get email build up. And then when they get to the event, there's a sorting hat line if you bought your book in advance, and then we're going to enhance the overall experience. So sales, we over-delivered, right? They've got 4 ideas on here, and they're going to meet Dumbledore to pick up their pre-purchased book and probably find out where they are, what the sorting hat says at the same time, and then they get the photo op. All right. Now, all the technicians on this webinar right now are going, oh, this is ridiculous. That would cost a fortune. It won't work. They don't have the space, yada, 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 yada. Don't worry about it. You're going to get your turn in just a minute. This is a great ideation outcome. Now let's get the technical people at the table. Technical people, give me 5 ideas which you feel will answer the client's needs, but introduce the technology and the design and the things that you think are important. So here's some examples. We're going to expand the environment. The space isn't big enough. Let's put a tent in the parking lot. Okay. We're going to put we're going to park cars somewhere else, so we need a valet service. Let's put them in costume. While we're outside, why don't we projection map on the side of the building and create Hogwarts on the side of the building next to the parking lot where the tent is? And why don't we put in some animated elements and surprises into that mapping? Run it for several days in advance. These guys are on a roll. Build more PR, build more hype. Build magic stations with wand effects. Hey, I want to use this Xbox Connect thing I've been playing with. So the technical people are coming up with great ideas. Somebody brings up, well, we need to test all this stuff. Well, great, let's test it in the shop and use that as part of the hype and build up in PR. And then we want to get live news coverage at the event and then capture video for future marketing. So they created a whole bunch of well, some of these are rather expensive ideas compared to what sales proposed, but these are great ideas. Now, they need a moonshot idea. They need one idea that they're going to wrap their heads around and take to the customer, or that they would take to the customer. And the technical team said, no, if we don't do anything, we have to do the projection mapping, and let's make it for 2 weeks, okay? And then maybe they can put some advertisements into it, and some other surprises, so that people will start driving by on a regular basis to see what's going on. So there's their idea that they want to hang their hat on. Now, let's go to the crew. Let's go to the people who are on show site, the people who deal with the realities of the logistics of doing an event like this. What are some ideas that would come from that group? And they're thinking about where will we put control? Well, we'll put a truck in the back, we'll decorate it, we'll be out of the way. We're going to put a technician in costume because we've got to get out there into the space and make sure that the Xbox thing works and this monitor over here is still functioning and all that kind of stuff. They're getting in the spirit of it, right? And then they go, well, wait a minute, this is starting to look like an event with a lot of people. Where's the trade show? Where's the expo? We can get more revenue. We can rent stuff to exhibitors. Why don't we figure out how to get a trade show into this space as well? And then why don't we enhance the line experience? Somebody had just been to Disney World. They got monitors all the way down on the line. They've got videos rolling. People are going to be waiting in line for hours to get their books. Why don't we entertain them in some way? So great stuff, great stuff. Oh, kiosks for mailing lists. We got a registration system we can put out there that we've developed, and we can use that to capture attendees and get emails and get Facebook likes and all that kind of stuff. So now the crew ideation team has got to come up and marry themselves to an idea, all right? And they're going to wrap their arms around this additional revenue with sponsors in a trade show and running the technology. They're seeing that advantage. Now, we don't have to do all of these ideas. We're going to process them a little bit more. So we take the 3 lists, we consolidate all the ideas, we get rid of the duplicates because sometimes people will come up with the same idea, and we lay it out so we can get an eyeball on it. We go, hey, we got 13 pretty awesome ideas. We don't need all of them, right? So we review the list. The first thing we do is we cross out any item that doesn't help answer the client's riff. In other words, if it's not what they asked for, if it's not even in the realm of what they asked for, we'll have to set it aside, and I'll show you some examples in a moment. And we want to cross out any item that doesn't address the negative impact list. What happens if they do nothing? And if we're not addressing those things, if we're not better than doing nothing, then we shouldn't take that to the pitch. And then the third thing we're looking for is getting rid of any item that's in conflict with the ROIs from the sales ideation about what can we measure that would make things better. So if it's an additional ROI, we might want to cross that out. So now our list looks like this. We're getting out of the parking lot thing because it doesn't really it doesn't do anything that we've asked for, and it doesn't deliver additional ROI. It just changes the experience and uses money. The projection mapping and effects and the promotional ads, again, same thing. It does create more environment, but it doesn't increase the ROI. Text and costumes can go away. The trade show partners can go away. That doesn't help anything on the negative effects. It's not part of the ROI. Advertising on display is the same thing. But that leaves us some good things. Getting sponsors, there's room for that. Maybe doing some projection on an inside wall, there's room for that. We can create a line experience, the sorting hat, the Dumbledore and wand effects, all these things work, and the pre-sale works. Now, what's our best idea out of all of this that we want to launch to them? Okay, so in this exercise, we came up with the sorting hat thing. We're going to create a web page for pre-sales, the wand trick. Basically, it's the sales ideation concept that we were scoffing at earlier, but this actually fits the our understanding of the demands and the profile of the customer. So here's something that we can make work and pitch. And oh, by the way, before you get hung up on the sorting hat thing, I got on Google and Googled sorting hat prop rental, and I think there was like 8 pages of prop rentals. You will have no trouble renting a sorting hat that you can animate and put a voice in. I bet you have a speaker, or they have speakers built in. So all of this stuff is very, very doable. If we solve a valuable problem for our customers, then everybody wins. Now, there's more to this ideation process, but this is a great moment to stop and point out that the biggest benefit to ideation is that the collective is smarter than any one individual. If you can put some brains together, you're going to have better ideas. Now, having said that, a lot of this ideation I came up with on my own, but everything that you're going to see afterwards was part of a group process to make it better. So don't get hung up on how much time this is going to take. I wrote that ideation in 20 minutes. Imagine what 3 or 4 of you together could do in 20 minutes. Now, we've got an idea and we want to do a pitch. Okay? We want to go to the client and say, here's what we think. Here's what we're proposing for you. In very broad terms, you have not written a proposal, by the way. Okay? And I recommend that you break it into 3 sections, and if you can, have 3 different people deliver it, because a pitch is theater. It's not conveying information. It's part of creating the drama of it and getting the effect of buy-in and credibility. The more people you have talk effectively, the better off you're going to look. So I want to talk about the needs and goals and features of our proposal. I want to talk about what the results and what the exceeded expectations look like. And then we're going to have a little discussion about ROI, and this is how it looks. So first thing is you talk about needs, and you identify and you acknowledge what they have said their needs are and how you're going to address it. Now you're into the pitch. This is a not to be missed exclusive sorting hat and Dumbledore experience. There's going to be interactive displays to capture ad hoc shoppers. You're going to build your mailing list. You're going to have plenty of news and social media opportunities. You're going to have added PR for days. Right? Those are the needs. That's how we're going to address them. Now, the outcome of what we're proposing is that you're going to increase your pre-sale orders. Remember the ROIs at the beginning? More pre-sale orders, more ad hoc purchases. You can have separate lines. If you pre-bought, you get to go into a special line, which is different from the people who are just lining up to buy it in the bookstore. So we can have a different experience for those 2 people, make sure that the pre-buy people get the better experience to encourage pre-sales. We're going to put in the interactive stations. We're going to make this a destination for this event. In other words, why would anybody go buy their book anywhere else in town when you have this going on? Okay? And we're creating the opportunity for people to linger. We're creating opportunities for impulse sales for all the related products. Okay? Is that valuable? Now, let's talk about math, ROI. If a book is $35, that means every additional customer is worth $35. Okay? And here's the reason we can deliver an exceptional ROI. We're going to measure success by the number of folks that visit this event. The more people you get to the store, the more books you'll sell, the more likes on Facebook, the more subscribers, the more folks that will come to other events and come back to the store again. And the PR is going to benefit long term. You lay it out for them in those terms. Now, we have to ask the questions of math because we haven't put a dollar amount on this. So how many books will you sell if you do nothing? And you can ask these in advance, but there's no point, because the next question is how many books will you sell if you do a simple promotion versus this promotion? Get those 3 numbers. They say, hey, we normally sell 500 books. If we do some promotion, we might sell 700 or 800. Oh my goodness, if we did this event, we would sell 1,000, 2,000. Let them make up a number. It's their number. Okay, it's going to be awesome. They're going to come up with an awesome number if you've come up with some great ideas. Now, what do we need at this point is a sense of the right ROI for you. Okay, and then we can create a proposal with options to zero in on the final project. If you sold 1,800 more books than you had planned, or 1,000 more books than you had planned, at a margin of $10 a book, that's $10,000 additional sales, in addition to what you would have invested anyway. So what's your budget? Let them determine what their budget is based on the number that they created, which is how many books they would sell and what the margin on those books are. Now we go back to work at the office and we create a proposal. Now, next month's webinar is on how to write a proposal for this kind of a project, but I'll give you the basics here right now. We're going to give the client 3 options. One is the basic pitch. Let's say they said, you know what, we can invest $15,000 in this event. That's probably significantly up from the $2,500 you thought it was when you started, because they now see the ROI. Option 1 is going to give them the basics. We're going to give you what we described. We're going to work it into a $15,000 budget. Off you go. It's easy for them to say yes to option 1 because you've already talked about it and you've already agreed to it. But in option 2, you can introduce some more ideas about things you could do for them that will increase the value and therefore increase the sale. So in option 2, why don't we take over, build the website for them, build the landing page for them, update their Facebook pages, and develop some of that for them, create the community and the capture that they need to give this legs. So we're going to help them do that, and here's the additional cost for that. And then option 3 is let's throw everything in there. Let's give them the biggest event that this need could sustain. So let's turn it into a block party. Let's get other stores involved. Let's get other people to help pay for it. Now we can do the great haul and the tent and the sorting hat and all these other ideas way, way over the top. And now we're in a much higher price point. So you've given them 3 options. Let's say option 1 was 15, option 2 should be 20, option 3 should be 40. So we give them some nice disparity. The purpose of option 3 is to make option 2 look good, and the purpose of option 1 is to make option 2 look good. And if we can get them to take option 2 and now have a $20,000 gig instead of a $15,000 gig, or the $2,500 gig I would have had if I just rented them some stuff at the beginning of the conversation. So this is the power of ideation. So we get the feedback from the customer, we give them their options and ROIs, and we use that ROI against the payment schedule to say, hey, I could do the $20,000, but I can't do all of it up front because I need to get some money from this event, blah, 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 blah. Now you're just working out terms and conditions. Now you're in a negotiation. You're good to go. And you get the PR from this success as well. So there's the ideation process. And many of you are thinking right now, well, we don't get that kind of a gig. That's not who calls us. We get written RFPs from event planners or associations. This process works with traditional RFPs. Matter of fact, most of the time when I apply it with my clients, it's because they've gotten an RFP on a renewal for an event they've done for years, and the customers put it out to bid. And guess what? The reason they put it out to bid is because we haven't been doing this kind of work for them. We haven't been thinking. We haven't been making their event better. And here's our chance to do it. So it works great with traditional RFPs. We can find hidden value in it. We can ask better questions so that we can present something that no one else is going to present. It works great with retention and renewal customers. When customers come to you and say, hey, we're looking for some fresh ideas, don't answer them right then and there. Go back and come up with some ideas. Find out what they're trying to accomplish. What would a better idea do for them? What would the outcome be? You know, what's the ROI of that outcome? And then we can put some thought into it and come back with some great ideas for them and maybe sell them some services that they didn't know that you had. Capabilities pitch. If you're going to do a capabilities pitch, don't just come in and do your standard dog and pony show about who we are and here's great projects we've done. Develop a capabilities pitch that speaks directly to your potential buyer's need and customize it appropriately. So let me give you a little food for thought here. And this is a great discussion topic after the webinar is over, as you're looking at yourself going, what the heck did we just watch? Think about what portion of your business lends itself to outcome-based selling. Not everything does. You have transactions in your business. How much of your business is truly transactional, and how much of it is opportunities where you're either not capitalizing on or you're not completely grabbing the outcome-based opportunity? Maybe we're glossing over it, we're skipping it, we didn't think it was important. How often could you sell outcome if you wanted to? Then ask yourself, how are you going to ensure that every opportunity gets the thoughtful response instead of the knee-jerk response? How do you slow down your process to make sure that we're putting enough thought into it? And then the third question I want you to ask yourself is, do you need to respond to more or fewer opportunities? Do you need to pick out better opportunities and put more effort into it and ignore the rest? Or do you have opportunities that you're ignoring because you're not seeing the value in it because you've sold yourself into being transactional? So you probably need more, you probably need less. I don't know. These are the questions that you need to ask yourself, and how are you going to start to accomplish that? So, hey, we're doing great on time today. So we're going to have questions here in just a minute. So start thinking about some of the questions you want to ask. I've got a couple out here already. So get those ready. Let me put a pitch in for next month's webinar, and I'll work on improving the audio. We're going to do proposals for outcome-based selling. So we're going to take this process and take it one step further and dive deep into writing a better proposal. You'll have my proposal template for how I approach things when I'm helping my clients sell. And we're going to work on capturing more strategic value instead of just getting the transactional dollars on this. We're leaving money on the table because our proposals don't convey what it is that we can actually do for the customer. And we'll talk about that. Yes, Jumpstart workshops. We've got one here in about 10 days. We're working on marketing and business development. It's here in Dallas. I hope you've been getting the emails. And I think you should come learn about that. This was the picture of the strategy workshop in February, I think it was. August 7th and 8th here in Dallas, marketing and business development. Go to my website, go to the Jumpstart page or the workshop page. Shouldn't have any trouble finding it, or you probably have 100 emails in your spam folder from me about this event. Check it out. If this webinar was valuable to you, this workshop will be 10 times more valuable. Now, most of you are on the mailing list. That's how you got here, but you may be sitting in the room and you're the person who's not on the mailing list. So go to my website, trstimson.com, click on download your free ebook. I'll send you a book, and they'll put you on my mailing list for my Monday Morning Intentional Success. So you'll get an e-copy of this book, and every Monday you'll get a dose of Tom. You'll get a blog post. You'll learn about more events that are coming up, the next webinar, and you'll have something to start your week with to help you make your business better. So we've got some very loyal followers on Intentional Success newsletter. I hope you'll be one of them. While you're at my website, if you want a conversation, if you want to know how to apply this webinar or anything else, just book some time with me. I'm very generous with the time. These are 20-minute calls. I'm happy to visit with anyone. If we need more time, we can book that as well. So if you want to know what I do for a living, instead of free webinars, I'd be happy to talk about that and how I can help your business. But I'm happy to help anybody who has a question that needs a verbal conversation. So bring it on. I love talking to you. Let me thank our sponsors again, and I can't thank them enough for making all of this possible. I've done webinars now for close to 15 years, but knowing that it's appreciated by our community as well as you guys makes it very worthwhile. So thank you so very much. Now, so let's have some questions here, and I'll take anything that you have. Let me kind of dig through the list here and see what we have. This question's starting, all right, so sometimes the questions are more of a statement, but this is a long-winded statement saying, I don't think I have the right team. I'm going to paraphrase for you. I don't think I have the right team to do this. Okay, I get that. Not everybody in our sales force is creative. Some of them are like me. They're old technicians that weren't very good technicians, so we put them in sales. Sometimes we didn't come from the industry. Sometimes our really creative people were out on show site and they can't help us with these things. Okay, don't let that daunt you. Put some more people in the room. Follow the questions, practice the ideas. The first 2 or 3 times you do this, it's going to be messy. Your output's not going to be fantastic. But by the time you've done it a few times and you start to see how it works and you start getting some feedback from your customers, you are going to get better and better and better at it. I started teaching this a few years ago. I think it's been a couple of years ago. And the people that have been using it tell me they're getting better and better results and they're improving on the process. So get 3 people in the room, 4 if you can, and get through it. Get through the process, see what you come up with. You'll be amazed. All you need is one good idea, one good question to ask the customer to make them more valuable. So that's definitely worth the time. Okay, another question here. It says about doing the pitch. Do you need to do the pitch in person? Can you write this in a proposal and get some feedback, or can you do it online? Okay, yeah, the answer is kind of yeah, you can do all of those things. This process works really well in person. And if you can't do it in person, you've got to do a very well orchestrated video pitch. Facial expressions are important. You have to see the customer's face. They have to see yours. This is theater. You have to react to your audience. You have to be able to tailor your speech. You know, I give a lot of presentations on stage, and I have a couple of speeches I've probably given, 50 times, and they change every single time because I'm looking at the audience's faces and finding out what they react to, what they lean forward on, what they look at their phone during, and I tailor that and I change my pitch, my presentation to respond to them. Sometimes we have to make our subtleties obvious, and the only way to do that is to be in person where people can see you and see what's going on. So preference is always in person. There's not a good way to do this sort of process in a pitch proposal, but I will give you a technique that can work. If you create a shared document, like in a Google Doc, a live document that you can have a back and forth dialogue on, and you can present ideas and build on it and make it an interactive document, you don't have to use it in real time, but you can go back and forth with a customer as you present ideas and concepts, get their feedback, and build on it. And if you can find a customer who likes that collaborative process, that can work. That's pretty cool. I work with some of my clients that way, but we're already engaged. I've never actually sold that way, but I think it might possibly work. All right, next question. How do you qualify the opportunity to ensure you aren't wasting your time? And how do you protect your ideas from being taken and sent out to bid with other providers? All right. 2 questions. Qualifying opportunities. How do you qualify opportunities now? This is really no different. So a couple of framing questions. I've got a lead magnet about qualifying questions to ask a prospect to help them share information to find out if they fit your profile. But if you don't have a clear target profile, you don't have a good way of qualifying. That's a great tee off to coming to the workshop on marketing and business development, because we have to talk about those things. Understanding your target customer and how to identify them and how to filter them is vitally important to what we do. So wasting time, we ask qualifying questions. That's what you do. What's your budget? If they don't have a budget, you give them a trial budget and say, here's some things that we would do. What would you be interested in? What sounds like something that you would like to hear more about? Invite them to your office. Prospecting is never a waste of time. Chasing opportunities is a waste of time if they're not good opportunities, if they're not filtered prospects. So use your regular qualifying thing. Now, how do you protect your ideas from being taken and sent out to bid to other providers? Make sure your idea is yours. It's real easy to take somebody's equipment list and put it out to bid. How do you take the idea of wanting a sorting hat and an inline experience? You haven't told them exactly what you're going to do or how you're going to do it. So there's nothing for them to go shop except say, hey, I had some great ideas. What would you do with them? Okay, you're the one with the credibility. You came up with the ideas. You're the one that understands them. You've had the thoughtful response. You have the credibility for these ideas. This particular customer isn't a price shopper in this example, but there are other examples where they are. So the other answer I have to this is I don't personally care what competition does. Competition is not your problem. You are. So make sure that you are selling you and what your value is. And if you share ideas with your clients, but don't tell them how you're going to do it, then it's much harder for them to go shop. So let's see, we're way ahead of schedule, so let me get one more question in here. Sorry, I'm kind of scanning your questions, folks. Okay, so the question here is somebody who's obviously watched a lot of my webinars. They're asking me about qualify, position, and close and how this fits into that process. When I talk about sales development process, qualify, position, and close. So qualify is about why us, why is this an RFP? Why are you asking it this way? Are we a good fit? Speaking to the previous questioner, this is the same thing. You have to ask the same questions you would always ask. In qualifying, we ask, is this a suitable contact for this project? And that doesn't mean we're looking for an economic buyer. It just means that we're talking to the right person to move the project forward. So that's the qualify process. That still takes place here. Positioning, I talk about moving from a bow tie to a diamond, introducing the team, trying to pull the project apart and see what the moving parts are, and then redesigning the RFP with the client. Well, this is exactly what ideation is. So ideation is taking the request apart and putting it back together differently with the client, with their cooperation, with their input, and making it unique, which makes it really hard for them to go shop it because it's something you guys built together and they're not going to know exactly how to present it to go shop it. So you're defining objectives with them and end results with them. You're defining how you're going to measure ROI. They're contributing to all of this process. There are people out there who don't need to shop if they found the right supplier, if they found the right partner to work with. And if they do shop it, then I politely suggest maybe they weren't the right partner to work with, and then move on. The whole point of having a good sales funnel and a good pipeline is to have more of these opportunities to process, so you're less concerned about failure or not succeeding in selling something. If you do this process 10 times and you only close 3 of them, you only have a 30% close rate, but it's 30% of business that's more profitable and more valuable for both parties. To me, that's a win, rather than responding to 10 empty RFPs and trying to see what we can do to get to the best price based on what they asked for. So choose what business that you want to be in, but here's a way to get more value by selling outcomes rather than focusing on the transaction. All right, so I feel like I've beaten the dead horse, but I do have a couple more thoughts for you before we move on. So let's talk about what you can do to get started today, and then I'll let you go. The mindset has to change in a lot of organizations. And one thing that we need to do is we need to welcome buyers that want guidance. Don't be afraid of people who don't know what they want. They are gold. Now, they don't all have money, and sometimes they really don't know what they want, and what they want is something really inexpensive or impractical. But you have to welcome them, or you don't get the opportunities for high-value buyers. You need to look for the hidden depth beyond the transaction. Today, if somebody calls up and they want to run a projector and a screen, and you're not asking them what they're doing for it, you've missed an entire decade of sales teaching. There's more behind the questions that we're being asked, and we need to find out what the value back there is. Framing language. Ask better questions. Say, hey, we could do an event where we can make it more, create some displays inside your store so people can watch some videos that you might already have. Maybe you just want to play the movie in the background. We can set up some monitors. Something like that might cost a couple $1,000. Or do you want to do something that's actually going to pull more people in? All right, so there's a framing question. And then I think I got one more of these. Yeah. So don't pitch, when you get to the point where you're pitching, don't pitch what you could do. You know, pitch what the client should do. And that's why we have to go back and eliminate the things that don't line up with the assumptions of the project. The ideation process establishes some assumptions. What are the negative effects of doing nothing? What's the ROI potentials if we do something? Where would we measure success? If we can't support those two things and improve upon them, don't pitch it. Just because you can do something doesn't mean that it's valuable or should be done. So that's where I'm going to wrap up today. This has been fast. Thank you for the comments, folks. Lots of folks are sending me nice little chats here. I appreciate it. Sorry that the audio is not better, but we'll make that better for you last time. Look for the email tomorrow to get the link. The audio won't be any better on the video, but hey, at least you can watch it again, review the slides, share it with more people on your team. Take a look at the workshop. Make sure that you're making your priorities straight. You need to be there. It's a good investment for your business. And sign up for next month's webinar. That site will be up here very, very shortly. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Cheers.